Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Legion Beta, and we're going to continue our series now as we're soon going to be doing the comparative list of all the melee classes. So in order to do that, I do kind of have to give you the background information, otherwise I'm being slack at my job. So we're going to kick off at the Survival Hunter here, and what is curious about this is the lack of fucks given by the community for what is a fully fledged brand new spec. It absolutely is. The melee spec of the Hunters, it was broken when we first looked at it back in the day, and they've done some tweaking to it, and we're pretty close. Obviously, this is a beta video, alright, guys? So although it is not too far away from the release of Legion, they may tweak some things, but generally, this is how it's going to play. So that's something you need to bear in mind if you're considering this. As many Hunters, as I said, the lackluster response from the community on this seems to be, look, we don't like it, blah, 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 not interested in it, not why I rolled a Hunter, etc., etc., which is an understandable position from guys who chose a fully ranged DPS spec, probably didn't expect to see a melee spec come in here. I have to wonder if Blizzard is also a little bit like, maybe we made the wrong decision here. However, what I can say is that it's alright. It's not the worst thing in the world. That would actually be the wrong impression to give here. It's not that at all. What seems to be the issue with it for the most part, I've been playing it on and off now. I've rolled a Survival Hunter several times. I did have an opportunity to play someone's level 110 for a while, which was very kind. Is what I can tell you is that, does it do anything particularly exciting? And I think the only answer to that is no, not really. What they've done here is kind of similar to the tanking Demon Hunter, is that they've pulled things from other specs and other specs that already exist and have done well, and they've kind of hodgepodged them together. And what they've then done is gone, let's tick the boxes. Does this spec have solid single target DPS rotation? Yep. Does it have nice burst AoE? Yep. Does it have nice sustained AoE? Yes, it does. It ticks all the boxes, but what you're not going to find here is something that makes you go, oh, that's fucking cool, right? You're not really going to get that here. So, I'll be interested to see how many people actually watch this who actually give a shit about this spec, but it is a spec that's in the game, so we certainly have to cover it. Let's go over the super basics then. So what you have, first of all, is Flanking Strike, okay? Which is kill command, basically, is what it is. A coordinated attack with your pet. So you both attack. So you and your pet attack together. If the target is attacking you, then your pet will deal 50% increased damage and 400% increased threat. I have to say, one of the really interesting things about playing this spec is leveling. It's very odd to have a permanent tank with you while playing a melee. I'm very used to it with a ranged spec, and obviously when you're in dungeons and stuff, you tend not to be tanking. But it's been a little bit of this is a weird, uncomfortable feeling because you're in melee, you're in the thick of things all the time, but your pet's often tanking, and that makes I have to say leveling is a fucking breeze with this thing. It's an absolute joke. So Flanking Strike is basically kill command. We then have Mongoose Bite. I'm going to talk about Mongoose Bite in a second because it is kind of the crux of the entire spec. I want to show you this, which is Lacerate. Lacerate is basically rend, okay, so it's going to cost you focus. They should have changed this to energy, I think, at this point. Focus doesn't make a huge amount of sense for a melee class. It does for a range class that's kind of feeling out where it should strike, but it is still focus. So Lacerate is going to cost you 35 focus. It's a 10-second cooldown, and it causes a bleed over 12 seconds. A substantial bleed. So you have to bear in mind, you're basically going to be hitting this thing on cooldown. In terms of its management, you just stick it on cooldown. It's not something like you can rend multiple targets. You can kind of do that, but for its base skill, you're just going to be keeping this bleed up at all times. We then have our AoE ability, which is basically cleave, but it comes in the form of the word carve. Now, I have a talent over it at the minute called butchery, but bear in mind, you do have this sort of sweeping attack. On top of that, part of your standard rotation is actually explosive trap. Explosive trap doesn't cost a damn thing, so you're going to be throwing this in all the time. On top of that, our next basic ability, our DPS ability, is in fact Raptor Strike. You'll notice the wonderful new graphics they've done for the old school abilities, except for Wing Clip, that still keeps its vanilla taste. The Raptor Strike is here. A vicious slash dealing 19,000 damage to 25 focus. So that's kind of your focused up. If you choose it to be, you can in fact choose a build which is Raptor Strike centric, which I'll talk about soon. Because one thing to bear in mind, guys, when you watch videos, especially people playing things in beta, is not to be lied to is kind of the wrong word, or take misinformation away from there. Numbers tuning is going on all the time, and some of the talents with the Survival Hunter right now are a little bit wavy in terms of how powerful they are, which leads to people playing things. You might see a stream of someone playing things, which aren't really how the spec is supposed to be played, is what I'd say. But because the current numbers tuning on beta means that X ability does lots and lots and lots and lots of damage, people favor using that over how it's intended to be played. So I'm trying to show you how I believe it's intended to be played. Now, that could change in the ultimate grand scheme of things, absolutely. DPS cooldown is aspects of the Eagle. Okay, it grants you and your pet 10% increased crit chance. It increases the chance to gain charges of Mongoose Bite, okay, by 100%. So what is that all about? Mongoose Bite is an interesting ability. This is what the entire spec is based around. Everything else is just maintenance, okay? You're basically just spinning plates. You'll be using things like Flanking Strike, Rend, Explosive Trap, but all in all, your decision-making really will come down to Mongoose Bite. So what happens with Mongoose Bite is kind of a mix of Colossus Smash type idea. It attempts to sever the target's limbs. Sounds way more cool than it actually is. It deals physical damage and grants you Mongoose Fury. So the way to think about Mongoose Fury is you're opening a window, like the Colossus Smash window. You're placing a debuff, when in this case it's actually a buff on yourself, which is Mongoose Fury. Mongoose Fury has a set duration. So once you open the window, you have to use it. Mongoose Fury increases the damage of Mongoose Bite by 50% for 12 seconds and stacks up to 6 times. Successive attacks do not increase its duration, okay? So as soon as you press Mongoose Bite, this window opens. Alright, you have this window for 12 seconds. Within that 12 seconds, you're really attempting to put in as many Mongoose Bites as humanly possible, up to at least 6, really, because that's when it's going to be doing its most damage, yeah? And each successive one of that will attack with the 6 times damage multiplier, and then the window will close. And after that, you're waiting to build up these charges. You can see it's got 3 charges here. You're going to wait till you get those 3 charges again, realistically, before you then open the window again and then go in to get as many Mongoose Bites in there as possible. So let me show you that in action after I've explained it. So I'd be attacking as normal. So I'd have things like my bleed on, I'd have my explosive trap down, and I'd be using my flanking strike, right? So these are on cooldown. I have 3 charges of Mongoose Bite. The window is ready to be opened. So let's refresh the rend. Now we go. 1. Now you'll see 12 seconds, the window's on. You can see now it's stacking up. So what I'm hoping for in this time is I can't press it again because it's recharging. Is hoping for charges to come up. So we got to 4, 5, and then the window closes. Yeah, we got that. Then the window closes. There's nothing you can do about that. What do we do then? Is that everything? No. What we have then is a finisher, which comes in the form of your artifact weapon, the Fury of the Eagle. It's a 45-second cooldown. It furiously strikes all the enemies in front of you, dealing 100,000 base damage. Damage is increased by Mongoose Fury. Okay? So what did we talk about a moment ago? Mongoose Fury goes to 6. Okay? So 6 is your max. And then you want to be able to use your Fury of the Eagle, which is basically the old Windwalker Fist of Fury. So if I just get up to 3 charges here, open the window, there's the Mongoose Fury, and let's say I have 6 charges now and I want to capitalize, I'm going to hit my Fury of the Eagle, and you do this Fist of Fury, which will do huge amounts of damage. Huge amounts of damage. So you can already tell the basis of this spec is to try and do, realistically, as many 6-charge Fury of the Eagles as possible. That's going to give you really creamy, crispy DPS, yeah? And just basing your entire decision-making process on that. So that's the base gameplay. On top of that, we have things like Tar Trap. Okay, you can still throw these things, which is fantastic. So you love that sliding animation. Good God, Blizz, do you fucking stroke my cock with that? Really cool. So you get this tar trap. You also get the old freezing trap as well, which is wonderful. You can see it slides over and then it'll freeze the targets. And absolutely amazing in dungeons, by the way, is just being able to throw this out when tanks are fucking terrible. In terms of mobility, we have the awful, absolutely disastrously bad aspects of the cheater on a 3-minute cooldown. Kill me now. So bad. But don't panic too much because we also have Harpoon. We were hoping Harpoon would be essentially Death Grip, Scorpion style, but it is basically, it's a charge. It's basically a charge. Looks awesome. The animations, have got to be said for survival, are fucking tremendous. Absolutely tremendous. On top of that, we still have Hatchet Toss, okay? So a bit of a throw. Yeah, just a throw. Not really a heroic throw, just a throw. And we still have Flare, and we still have aspects of the Turtle, okay? Aspects of Turtle giving us that nice defensive, you can see there, we get to be a little turtle shell for a while. And of course we still have our pet maintenance, which is going to be men pet, and all the usual shit that comes with our pets. So Growl, Heart, the Phoenix, the usual stuff. Nothing to be there. You're going to be throwing heals on him as such. We still have Feign Death. We do not have Disengage. Oh, really bums me out we don't have Disengage, but we still have Feign Death. Beyond that, we're getting into talent territory now, okay? So those are the base aspects of how this thing plays. You're going to be keeping basic things on cooldown, Explosive Trap, Rend. If you go Flanking Strike route or you go Raptor Strike route, that's how you'll be dumping your energy. And on top of that, you're basically just managing Mongoose Bite and your Fury of the Eagle. That's your playstyle. So as you can see, lots of things borrowed from other specs here to make this happen. Let's jump into the talents then. So the talents are really interesting. Really interesting. So, Animal Instincts. I was saying before, a Flanking Strike-centric spec or a Raptor Strike-centric spec. Basically, one has the standard 5-second cooldown, 6-second cooldown like you've seen with pretty much every melee class. Your Mortal Strike, your Flying, what's the uppercut kick? Rising Sun kick, that kind of usual shit, yeah? Or you could go with Raptor Strike, which costs less focus, so you get to do it more often. So Animal Instincts is if you're Flanking Strike centric. Flanking Strike also grants you the instincts of your pet for 7 seconds, providing one of the following combat enhancements: haste, movement speed, or mastery. Why movement speed is in there is fucking beyond me. I wish they would just fuck off with this ridiculous idea. Throwing axes, tossing 3 axes at an enemy, each dealing damage. Isn't that bad? It sounds pretty bad, isn't it? But it's an extra button that you can throw in there. Or Way of the Mock Nathal. Now, Way of the Mock Nathal has actually thrown the whole system into chaos because it was giving absurd amounts. So it's been tweaked and changed some of the times. So I'm not really going to put judgment on it now. All I'm going to say is this is the Raptor Strike centric, okay? Raptor Strike also grants you Mock Nathal tactics, increasing your attack power by 3% for 8 seconds, stacking up to 4 times. Now, ideally, you'd be doing Flanking Strike and Raptor Strike. What I found even at basic gear of 110 is that wasn't really realistic to keep the buff up. The buff doesn't last very long. It's 8 seconds, and Flanking Strike takes 50 focus. It's not like It's not like the other Hunter specs where focus isn't really a thing. One of the big comments I had about the other Hunter specs is that focus isn't really a big deal. With survival, it absolutely is, okay? So you get these two choices here of how you want to go. Do you want to be more Flanking Strike centric or Mock Nathal? It will be said that if you choose these early days, you will generally just be pressing that and ignoring the other one for the most part, unless you have absolutely nothing else to do and are overflowing with focus, which does happen. It's fine. This spec isn't global cooldown locked or anything. You'll have periods where you're spamming, particularly with Mongoose Bite, and then it'll kind of slow down where you'll be doing like Explosive Trap, you'll be doing Rend, you'll be doing Flanking Strikes, and maybe some Raptor Strikes while your charges of Mongoose Bite reset. So it's kind of in the middle ground, which is nice. Caltrops are super cool. I've got to show you these, actually, if I can bring my pet with me. Come here with me, buddy. Come on. Come on, little wolfie. Caltrops scatters Caltrops in the area for 15 seconds. Enemies who step on them will take bleed damage and have 70%. So it's still slow. Okay, replaces Tar Trap. See, my Tar Trap has changed there to Caltrops. And they just look cool, is why I want to show you them. They just look awesome. The bleed damage is neither here nor there, really. You'll have other more important things to do, really. But it is free, so you can throw it down. Whee! It's like a little grenade. Isn't that cool? They look so awesome. I really like them. It's very, very cool. So you get your Caltrops, improved traps. Now this is a straight up DPS because it reduces the cooldown of your freezing trap by 50% and the cooldown of explosive trap and tar trap by 50%. Explosive trap is good damage. Yeah, it's good damage for absolutely free. You can get explosive trap down to like 15 seconds. It's very, very cool. And steel trap, it hurls the steel trap at the target, immobilizing the first enemy approaches for 30 seconds and deals bleed damage. Okay, other damage may break, so it will deal damage to the target and not break it. Other people attacking it can break it, but your bleed damage that you do during Steel Trap does not break it. And what it does is, it basically, if you're not going to be CCing with Freezing Trap, it gives you an extra damage bonus. It's basically a twist on the bleed that Kidney Shot did for Rogues, is how I look at it. It's basically a twist on that. It's very, very cool. I actually quite like all of these. They play really nicely. Are they super impressive? Not really, but mechanically, they're very nice. Post-Haste, which is Harpoon, also frees you from movement pair effects. I found that very cool. Fast Rider, your ability crit strikes have a 10% chance to reset the remaining cooldown on Harpoon. This actually, I should point this out here. This actually ties into your artifact with Eagle's Bite. Harpoon also applies on the trail, which is just another bleed, okay, and it extends by your auto attack. So using Harpoon once you have all your artifact abilities will give you an extra bleed that you have to manage. Hence, this kind of makes sense why there's all these tie-ins to Harpoon to make sure you can do them. You also get Dash, increase the duration of aspects of the cheater by 3 seconds. I don't know what they're thinking with aspects of the cheater. It blows my fucking mind at how bad it is. So we can still get Murder of Crows. Mortal Wounds, then each time Lacerate deals damage, you have a 2% chance to get a charge of Mongoose Bite for that steadier damage. Or you can get Snake Hunter, which instantly grants you 3 charges of Mongoose Bite. Now, what I will say here, is, and after speaking to some guys who've tested this out, although I've kind of put the emphasis that Mongoose Bite is something to be managed, and even mentioned that sometimes you'll be waiting for it to recharge, there are many, many regular periods of time where you'll actually finish the window and you're back to 3 charges of Mongoose Bite pretty much straight away. You could go for quite a while with just spamming Mongoose Bite and not really caring about the window. I kind of think that might be a thing. In Snake Hunter, loses value in those cases. It really does lose value in those cases. So we get sticky bombs, which are cool. Sticky bombs. Be proud, Mr. Woo. I'll be loving it if anyone gets that reference. Sticky bomb. It hurls a concussive grenade at the target. It sticks to them and explodes after 3 seconds, knocking back. Okay, I've used that so many times with, especially with some awful tanks I've been dealing with recently. Ranger's net. Hurls a net at the enemy, rooting the target for 3 seconds, reducing the movement speed, and camouflage, of course. You knew all about that. So, butchery, as I said, this replaces carve. Carve's your base cleave ability, or you can get butchery, which puts 40 focus on it. As you can see there, it says replaces carve. It puts 40 focus on it and gives you charges. This hurts so fucking much, it's funny. It's almost hilarious. You can actually... butchery is the right word. You strike all nearby enemies in a flurry of strikes, inflicting 50,000 physical damage to each. It really hurts. It really hurts. So you want some nice little burst damage, you go in, you spam 3 butcheries, you'll do a shitload of damage. Or you can go with a Dragonfire Grenade. It deals a Dragonfire Grenade at the target, explodes into flames, and deals damage over a period of time. Yeah? The volatile flames on the target also scorch nearby enemies, so you get that more consistent AoE. If you want really sustained AoE, though, you can rock a Serpent Sting. It targets hits by a Raptor Strike and Carve, so this is a single target buff as well. Okay? Bear that in mind, you'll be keeping that dot up with your Raptor Strike, so something to manage there. Are also affected by Serpent Sting, dealing damage over time. In huge packs, good god, the damage this mounts up, especially if they don't die fast, or they're running around, spreading out, and not really hitting your butchery and all that. Very, very cool. So you can see here what I was talking about with ticking all the boxes. Level 100, we have Spitting Cobra. Should we point it out here, if you ever saw my Ultival video, this was originally a gun turret, which neither here nor there in terms of actual practicality or mechanics. They both do the same thing. But honestly, the turret was way more interesting. It didn't do much damage, but the Spitting Cobra, where am I keeping them? This is the expansion of Class Fantasy, right? Where the fuck am I keeping all these snakes? So Spitting Cobra, it summons a Spitting Cobra for 30 seconds that attacks your target, usual nonsense, and allows you to gain 3 extra focus, okay? So you get this extra focus damage. Expert Trapper, mainly you want this for increasing the explosive trap's damage to the triggering enemy, not all the damage it does, by 100%. Very cool. Or Aspect of the Beast is the passive you can pick up. Remember, Blizzard are trying to give you all the option of an extra ability on your bar or a passive, and Flanking Strike causes your pets an additional effect based on its specialization, so the target also bleeds as well. So, Class Fantasy-wise, I just brought this up. What are they aiming for? Kind of a mix of things. There's no clear direction they've gone with this. They want to keep Sun Hunter stuff in there, but it's not a hunter. You have a pet, but this is not a hunter. It plays nothing like a hunter. They might have explosive traps and stuff, but realistically, you're in melee now. It doesn't really fit the hunter theme. But I really like the idea that you're packing grenades, doing all this kind of stuff. I would have actually preferred if they went whole hog with an engineering style, which is why I like the gun turret over the snakes. I'd gone really in depth with more mechanical based traps and stuff like that. But I don't think the fantasy where we are right now is actually particularly bad. I don't think it is whatsoever. I think it's actually pretty good and a lot of fun. What I will say is the artifact is one of the most uninteresting. Sorry to say that. So you're going to pick up a Talon Strike. Your basic attacks have a chance to trigger 2 rapid blows. There's nothing you can do about that. It will happen or not happen. Aspects of the Skylord. Aspect of the Eagle increases all damage you deal by 30%. Okay. Nothing much we can do about that. And of course the Eagle's Bite, which is something you will have to manage, but it's harpoon based. I tried this out. It stays up for... It's very hard to let this thing drop, honestly. Once it's actually going, it's essentially a passive. As long as you don't, like, not harpoon, you know, into the fight or whatever, then it will be quite interesting. My conclusion to this is the same as most people. One, it doesn't feel like a hunter, so I totally understand why hunters are put off by this. Your pet is either... Your pet is invisible as far as your gameplay is concerned. Your Flanking Strike you press, but do you really care what your pet's doing when playing this? Absolutely not. You're melee focused now, which means your pet controller stuff doesn't really fucking matter. It's very unlikely, as melee tend to focus one target and then move to something very, very close, that you'll be controlling your pet in any meaningful way. So I totally get that. Does it do anything particular special that other melee classes don't do and do better? No, it doesn't, and that's really sad. The Mongoose Bite system is an interesting idea, but in practice, it's just not that fun. As I said, most of the time, you're just you're reliant on the game to decide whether or not it procs enough to get up to 6. Yeah, you could certainly boost those chances with things like Aspect of the Eagle and, of course, taking Lacerate that you'll proc Mongoose Bite Strikes. Or you can even pad it out a little bit with Snake Hunter. But ultimately, you're down to the game to decide, and that's pretty much it. Outside of that, you're just doing maintenance by pressing whatever's not on cooldown. If Explosive Chap is not on cooldown, press it. Is Rend not on cooldown? Press it. Is Flanking Strike not on cooldown? Press it. Are you not using that really? Then you can just press Raptor Strike whenever you've got the focus, and there's nothing much else to worry about. And I totally get why some people are like, if I was going to play Melee, I would rather play something else that's had years of development time behind it. Overall, though, I haven't been dissatisfied with it. If I was a hunter and I didn't mind melee, which I think is the big question, if you were a hunter who actually doesn't mind melee and survival becomes the dominant spec, particularly if you're a raider and you're kind of inclined to play the dominant specs, I'd be okay with it. I'd be okay with it, but I wouldn't be over the moon with it. I wouldn't be happy with it. I often talk about, and I did this in the top 5s, about these moments of glory where the spec does something absolutely fantastic. The survival hunter doesn't have it. Not that I've found. I've tried all kinds of variations. I've played with all the different talents. It's very limited. Most things have a big cooldown. You're at the mercy of the game for this, and therefore you're kind of waiting around for it to do something. It doesn't do anything particularly special. Although I will say, if you like seeing big damage numbers, it has that in spades, yeah? Once you start spamming those Mongoose Bites and following it up with like a 6-charge Fury of the Eagle, you'll get those huge numbers that you like seeing. If you like seeing numbers flowing up all the time, I've already shown you, there are dots for fucking days with this. You've got Lacerate, you've got Explosive Trap, you can add in Serpent Stings, you can add in the Harpoon Bleeds. There's all these different types of dot damage. You even add Caltrop Bleeds in if you want to, where you'll just see damage just flooding your screen all the time. And in that respect, it will satisfy those guys as well. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the Survival Hunter. That is what you're going to get. I would love to see your opinion on it. Is it difficult to play? No, not really. It needs some more development time. It's basically a first step into the foray of a brand new melee spec. It's certainly not as exciting or interesting as the Demon Hunter, which I think why most people are putting them side by side as the two melee specs that have joined us in Legion, putting them side by side and saying which one's better. The Demon Hunter clearly has way more bells and whistles and fireworks going on for it, and these really cool moments. I mean, does the Survival Hunter turn into a giant fucking demon, guys? No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It doesn't do that. Does it do a massive, huge laser-generated beam? No, it doesn't. What it does do, it requires a little bit of setup. It's got to be said. You've got to get your Rend on. You've got to get your Explosive Trap and cooldown. You probably want to get your Flanking Strike or your stacks of Raptor Strike up. And then you can't really open the window during the pull because you need to make use of that window and you can kind of weave it in between. It has this setup window and all that instead of just going, blah, fuck you and die. But it does do all the jobs it's supposed to do for a solid DPS spec. I'll leave it there. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I'll see you again. Bye-bye.